It was said that no liar could meet Wyatt Earp's gaze and get away with it. His eyes could gently peel back the layers of bluster and bravado, revealing the truth hidden beneath. On the dusty, restless streets of Tombstone, Arizona, a town humming with anxious energy, that reputation was about to be tested. The air hung heavy with tension, stretching out for what felt like an eternity, though it was only 30 seconds. 30 seconds broken by the sharp crack of gunfire in a narrow lot, a sudden release of built-up fear and desperation. When the smoke cleared, 3 men lay on the ground, and a legend was quietly born. This is the story of a lawman whose greatest strength wasn't the pistol at his side, but his remarkable ability to see the truth in a man's eyes. It's a story of how that steady, quiet gaze shaped not just a gunfight, but the course of the American frontier. Section 1. The Powder Keg of Tombstone. To understand Wyatt Earp, you first have to understand Tombstone, the town that made him a legend. In 1877, a prospector named Ed Schieffelin ventured into the remote Apache territory of southeastern Arizona. A soldier warned him, "The only thing you'll find out there is your own tombstone." But Schieffelin trusted his instincts. He struck silver, one of the richest veins in American history. Holding on to that grim warning, he named his claim Tombstone, and the town that grew around it took the same name. Almost overnight, Tombstone blossomed from a quiet outpost to a bustling boomtown. In less than 7 years, its population swelled from 100 to nearly 14,000. It drew dreamers, merchants, gamblers, entertainers, and those who lived by their own rules. The streets buzzed with life. Saloons, gambling halls, and brothels thrived alongside the mines. 110 saloons and 14 gambling halls operated day and night, their music and laughter mixing with the clink of coins and the occasional shout. Life was fast, and sometimes deadly. Into this lively chaos rode Wyatt Earp and his brothers, Virgil and Morgan. They weren't cowboys. They were men from the north, interested in business and order. Virgil became the town marshal, tasked with keeping peace in a town that often teetered on the edge of violence. Wyatt was a man of quiet contrasts. Tall and calm, he rarely drank and carried himself with steady confidence. A friend called him the most dependable man I ever knew. Bat Masterson, a lifelong friend, said Wyatt was destitute of physical fear. He was a master observer, able to read a room and a man's face in an instant. In Tombstone's simmering atmosphere, this skill was his greatest weapon. Opposing the Earps were the Cowboys, a loose group of ranchers and outlaws led by the Clanton and McClory brothers. They came from the south, proud and fiercely independent, suspicious of the Earps' northern style of law and order. When Virgil enforced a law banning firearms in town, the Cowboys saw it as a direct challenge to their way of life. Politics, pride, and money created a fragile balance, waiting for a spark. That spark came in the form of Ike Clanton. Section 2. The Art of the Staredown. The famous gunfight at the OK Corral didn't start with a shot. It began weeks earlier, with a secret deal, a betrayal, and a test of wills. Wyatt Earp wasn't a simple hero. He'd been a lawman in tough towns like Wichita and Dodge City, but also a gambler and sometimes an outlaw himself. This complicated past gave him a deep understanding of people, their lies, their fears, their bluffs. He knew the signs of deceit because he'd seen them 100 times in smoky saloons and shadowy alleys. In the fall of 1881, a stagecoach robbery set the stage for conflict. A $6,000 reward was offered for the robbers' capture, a fortune then. Ike Clanton, a cowboy, secretly approached Wyatt, offering to betray his friends for the money. But before the plan could unfold, the robbers were killed elsewhere. Ike's secret was out. Afraid his cowboy allies would turn on him, and angry at Wyatt for the lost reward, Ike began loudly threatening the Earps and their friend, Doc Holliday. On the night of October 25th, an intoxicated Ike followed Wyatt through saloons, hand on his revolver, shouting threats. But Wyatt stayed calm. He didn't draw his gun. Instead, he looked Ike in the eye and saw the truth. Ike was bluffing, a frightened man trying to hide behind noise and whiskey. Wyatt told him to go home and sleep it off, famously saying, "There was no money in it." The next morning, Ike was still boasting, now armed in violation of the town's law. Marshal Virgil disarmed him with a swift strike and took him to court. Humiliated, the Cowboys' anger hardened. Soon after, Wyatt confronted Tom McClory, saw a pistol, and struck him down. The stage was set. The Cowboys gathered behind the OK Corral, armed and waiting. Their wounded pride kept them there just a moment too long. Section 3, 30 Seconds of Truth. At 3 p.m. On October 26th, the Earps, Virgil, Wyatt, Morgan, and Doc Holliday walked toward the vacant lot. Virgil's voice cut through the tense air. "Boys, throw up your hands, I want your guns!" What followed was chaos, gunfire, smoke, and confusion. But Ike Clanton's actions spoke clearly. The man who had threatened the Earps all day didn't fight. Unarmed, he touched Wyatt's arm, insisting he wanted no part of the fight. Wyatt's reply was firm. "Go to fighting or get away!" He pushed Ike aside. The bluff was called. Ike fled, leaving his brother Billy and the McClorys to face the fight. In 30 seconds, nearly 30 shots rang out. When the smoke cleared, Frank and Tom McClory and Billy Clanton lay dead or dying. Virgil and Morgan Earp were wounded. Only Wyatt stood untouched. The aftermath was messy. Ike Clanton filed murder charges, and a rival sheriff testified against the Earps. But after a month-long hearing, Justice Wells Spicer cleared them. He noted Ike's threats, his illegal weapons, and that Ike had left unharmed. Wyatt's judgment was officially confirmed. But the feud didn't end. Virgil was later ambushed and wounded. Morgan was shot and died in Wyatt's arms. Grief and anger transformed Wyatt. He formed a posse and hunted down those he blamed, outside the law he once upheld. Wyatt Earp's story reminds us that history is never simple. It's full of complex people, either perfect heroes nor pure villains. If you find comfort in exploring these deeper stories and the real, complicated lives behind legends, please subscribe and rest with us for more tales like this. Conclusion: The Man and the Myth. Was Wyatt Earp truly a human lie detector? Or simply a man with a keen understanding of human nature, shaped by a life on both sides of the law? Those who knew him spoke of quiet confidence and fearless resolve. One said, "Lying is a coward's device, and Wyatt Earp was no coward." Maybe his greatest skill wasn't spotting lies, but showing his own steady truth, a calm presence that made bluster and threats fade away like dust in the desert wind. His legacy is tied forever to those 30 seconds in Tombstone, a brief, intense moment in a long, complicated life. But it was in the quiet hours before that moment that his true strength shone, not the cold steel of his revolver, but the steady gaze that separated liars from killers, cowards from fighters, and the living from the dead. And so, we're left with a gentle question: was Wyatt Earp a lawman, a vigilante, or something else? A man who bent the law to his will, or one who simply understood the quiet fears of his enemies better than they understood themselves?